Hey everyone, Kokomojo here. Today I've got a 21 Tyrannical Halls of Valor to go over with you. In this video, I'm playing an Outlaw build, the Hidden Opportunity Count the Odds build, and I think it's probably the best Outlaw build right now. And I also think Outlaw is probably the best build you can be playing in Tyrannical Halls of Valor, unless you're in like a super coordinated high elo team. The utility that this build brings for bosses is insane. It's also really good on pulls like this, where you have like one super healthy mob and then a bunch of like weaker mobs. You just do really good prio while doing really good AoE. Like right now I'm at like 230, 240, 250k, and this is all while doing like very, very good prio. So like most of my team is like at this point just doing AoE, but I'm focusing the dragon, which is by far the highest HP mob. Like it has like more than double the HP of all of the other mobs, or maybe it's like almost like exactly double. But yeah, being able to like do that much prio and that much AoE at once is like really good. Like we definitely don't do as much AoE as other builds, and we don't do as much single target as other builds, but we can do a lot of both of them at the same time, which is pretty valuable in cases like this. We also ended up sapping that first Thundercaller and pulling him in later. That's just so we don't have to deal with like 2 dispellable debuffs while our tank is getting trucked. I'm gonna try to save our healer some GCDs. This Count the Odds build, the reason I like it is because we can farm so many Roll the Bones buffs so consistently. So it kind of helps make up for the lack of consistency that the Fan the Hammer nerf brought. So like anytime we can get Skull and Crossbones and or Broadside is like really, really nice. Yeah, so like here, it also makes Shadowdance an insane cooldown. So like in this case, so we get double the chance and double the duration for Count the Odds when we're in Stealth or in Shadowdance. So in this dance, I built up all of the Roll the Bones buffs, and so I'm spending what is this, like 4 seconds with all of the buffs and like 10 or 8 seconds with like, you know, the good buffs. So it's like kind of insane. So with this build you don't play greenskins, and so that means your pistol shot after Between the Eyes isn't, you know, giga buffed, but I think that's okay, mostly because there's like a lot of cases where you're gonna want to be holding Between the Eyes for like going into the next pack or for target swapping or something along those lines, and you can't really effectively do that with greenskins without losing a ton of damage. Whereas with this build, you're pretty much only casting Between the Eyes when you need to you know, refresh your Between the Eyes debuff. So it's definitely, I think in general it's like a better fit practically for running keys than running greenskins. But yeah, the rest of this boss fight kind of goes the same. I'm gonna skip ahead of it. So we end up with a pretty good patrol with the distract, so and Mind Soothe, so we're able to just get up in here and get started. Again, this is like another situation where I really like Outlaw. So these Mystics, they're the thing that's gonna make this pull take forever if they get their healing cast off. Like here, my team didn't kick the other one. I had blind, so I guess I could have stopped it as well, but that heal is going to slow your key down so much, especially on fortified weeks. So my MO is to just hard prio the Mystics, and I can do that while also doing good AoE. Like I'm at like 200k DPS AoE while doing like a ton of damage to this one Mystic. This Mystic is absolutely getting annihilated. Unfortunately, we don't stop that rune, so we gotta move the mobs, but yeah, being able to get that one guy down so that we have one less kick, one less opportunity to massively heal the mobs and make this pull take forever, that's like huge value to me. And yeah, of course, I would probably do more DPS as sub on this pull, but the Mystic would die at the same time as everything else, right? So I think there's a lot of value in that. Yeah, so one of the things that I like to do with this build is actually use Shadowdance a little bit more offensively. So pretty much what the guides say you should do in this case is you should be pistol shotting because you've got three stacks. I actually used Vanish Dispatch mostly to like drop threat, but Vanish Ambush is definitely better. You really want to be doing that pretty much all of the time. I just did it because I was going to get hit by these mobs. But basically, what I end up doing here is Blade Rush into Dispatch. This gives me the Blade Rush buff, so I'm going to be like pretty high on energy. And what I'm going to do is actually go right into Shadowdance here. And the main reason for this is I want to try to farm some buffs, but also it's like pretty bursty doing it this way. Like if you just sit on Shadowdance, then yeah, you're going to be able to stay in the hidden opportunity loop more consistently, I think. But you're also like losing kind of a lot of damage from all of the Roll the Bones buffs, and also just like the back-to-back ambushes over and over again. Like you can definitely put out a lot of damage in Shadowdance, so it doesn't feel good to me to like sit on that for a long time. I mean, I know that's not really what the guides say to do, but I think this playstyle just feels better to me. It feels more bursty. I'm also able to like build up like a pretty big buffer of pistol shot procs that way. So yeah, it doesn't like get me back into the loop per se, but it kind of sets me up to stay in the loop for a fairly long period of time. And it's especially true if I'm like building up a ton of Roll the Bones buffs that also keep me in the loop. So yeah, this is another situation. Again, this is a tough pull for the tank. It's really tough on Fortified weak. Not so bad on Tyran weak, but like right here. So a couple things that I'm doing. One, I'm killing the Thundercaller so that we don't have many of these circle debuffs going out. I really don't want my healer to be pressing globals on us when the tank needs, you know, all the attention slash so they can do damage, I guess, of course. So like in this case, like I get the circle and I know no one is in my circle, and so I cloak and get rid of that. And then I'm also just like hard prioing this Thundercaller. Like again, the goal is to kill this guy before too many of those circle debuffs go out. So that, yeah, so like he literally put out one circle and I cloaked it, and so like no one really took any damage from that Thundercaller. And it meant that our healer could just focus on their damage and also on keeping the tank alive when in this this pretty tough pull. And I like doing that in that way, where we pull the guys at the end of the hall into those two mobs at the bottom of the stairs, because then it means that we can pull these three mobs into the next three. I see a lot of pug teams do just the mobs at the end of the hall, then the two guys at the bottom of the stairs with these three guys at the top of those stairs, and then the three mobs before the two mini bosses. And so you end up doing it in like 3 pulls that way. And that's, I guess it's okay, but doing it this way is definitely a lot better. Not a lot to talk about here. I'm gonna be swapping my priority target to the aspirant. I think this is like, yeah, so this is actually like a decent demo as well of you know, this priority damage. So like this aspirant has like just under 3 million. This guy is just under 2 million, and then 1 million for the rest. And basically, like, you know, these guys will die earlier, of course, because like everyone else is AoEing. But this guy's not going to be that far behind. Like, I'll just speed it up a little bit so it doesn't take too long. But like, you know, those guys are dying. Then this guy's starting to get low, and then he basically catches up with the other Shield Maiden, and then they die at roughly the same time. Outlaw's also really good on this double trash pull of these two mobs, so I actually get some shit buffs here, but being able to Blade Flurry and cleave onto the other mob is like insanely good. And I actually got pretty lucky with some buffs there as well. The other thing that's really sick about Outlaw, in particular for these mobs, and you kind of see it here. So I Vanish and I get Soothing Darkness, so this is going to heal me over 6 seconds. So I'm getting healed up a bit while this is going on, and then I can late feint. You could also feint early if you want the healing along with feint. That takes even more pressure off your healer, but you end up doing so much self-healing with this build. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, so our strategy on this boss is to do 2 rounds on the holy side, and then 1 round of Eye of the Storm, and then go back for 2 more holies. On this key level, the holy side isn't really going to kill us, at least not with 2 stacks. Like we'll go down to like maybe half health or something with the this Expel Light. Yeah, that's like not that scary. But yeah, the Eye of the Storm is what's going to kill us on this key. The one thing that's really nice about Rogue here, and actually Sub gets this as well, is Acrobatic Strikes. Long Arms means that for the orbs during Sanctify, there's just like basically no risk of you getting hit. They're very, very easy to dodge. First of all, I mean, they just come out at like a fixed pattern, so once you learn the pattern, you just do that. But you can just stand really far away and not lose any damage. It's pretty nice. On the lightning side, I do a couple of things here. One, I Vanish, even though I don't really need it. I had a Vanish proc, but I Vanish to get Soothing Darkness, and what this is going to do is heal me up over these 4 seconds or so, and then I press Feint as well. I honestly should have just cloaked here. I think that would have been better than Feint. So I end up pretty low, but I also didn't get a ton of healing from our healer. I ended up mostly healing myself and using Feint. But yeah, having Feint for every single unavoidable mechanic is really nice. There's like a lot of unavoidable mechanics in this dungeon that are AoE, and Feint is insanely good for all of them. So. And we end up with a kind of a late Bloodlust. I think we had it earlier, but we end up getting full value out of it anyway, so it's not the end of the world. There's also a bunch of cases to use Shroud in here. I mean, this isn't an outlaw thing, but just being able to get by those patrols very easily and then skip the last 2 sentries at the end is also very, very good. But so up until this point, all of our trash pulls have been 5 or 6 targets. This is the 1 4-target pull, I think, that we have in the whole dungeon. And I mean, even on this, we can do pretty good DPS. Like, what are we at? 180, 190. That's fine. Like on a 4-target pull. So like sub would also do fine on this pull, but having the flexibility to do just good damage basically no matter how your tank pulls in this key is like really, really good. I'm actually just gonna skip ahead to Fenryr. This is like, I think, the main use case for playing Outlaw in this dungeon. But for this one, I actually mess it up big time. So the idea is that when Fenryr is doing the leap, you just want to be the farthest target and then vanish while Fenryr is mid-leap animation towards you. The problem here is that I end up vanishing before the cast finishes, and then I don't dodge the bleed because I'm fucking old, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, you can actually vanish all of them. If you get really bad RNG, then you won't farm your vanish back in time. But that's like pretty rare, I find. Like you can pretty much always get it back in time. So like here, we've got another leap coming up, and I've got vanish. This time I actually wait for the animation, and then I'm able to vanish it. So you could just like do them all. It's really good. Now sub can do a couple as well. Like if you are playing sub, then on Tyran week at least, you should take double vanish. It's like really, really good. You could do 2 of them, but Outlaw can just do them all. It's insane. The other nice thing about Outlaw is that you don't really burst. Like you don't really have any burst cooldowns. Like your cooldowns all kind of suck, but you have them all the time. So like no matter what, you can do good damage. So like we're going up into this pole before the boss, and like I gladly just send my DPS cooldowns because I know I'm gonna get like 2 or 3 more uses out of them on this boss fight anyway. Like it does not matter at all. So I kind of just dump on one of those guys, like everyone else is AoEing, and I'm just prioing that one wolf down. And that's probably not the best for time, but like these mobs are kind of dangerous for our squishy clothy priest. So, you know, just shitting on one of them and getting it to the point where we now only have 4 of them and our priest is a little bit safer is pretty high value. But yeah, I send my cooldowns and they're like already pretty much back. Like you just press them and you get to do good damage all the time, no matter what. Yeah, one trick actually on Fenryr is I don't use tricks on pull because he's going to summon ads pretty much right away. And I want to make sure that my team is not getting threat on these guys. So so I, you know, put a little damage on the ads, get out, do the Vanish. I actually should have ambushed there. That was bad. I don't know why I pistol shotted, but that's fine. And unfortunately, you know, our priest ends up getting the scent of blood, but that's okay. I end up actually, so in that case, I ended up using my blade rush for mobility, which was pretty nice. I had to stay back and clear thundering, but I really wanted to save my grapple because grappling out in the last second is one of the nice things about Outlaw. Being able to keep that uptime, keep hitting the boss, and then get out and guarantee that you can make the Vanish is pretty high value. Yeah, Rogue's just like so good at M+. Like, there's so many of these cases where like something's happening, and so you have a lot of defensive options to live things. Like there, I had to fixate, but I just stand still because I just know I can evasion, and that helps my DPS friends keep their uptime. And so so the first round of Fenryr, our priest was basically out of mana because I actually messed up 2 of the Vanish dodges, only got the 3rd one. But on this one, because I've done all of them, our priest is just chilling. This is like, makes this boss like maybe even trivial. It's like, it's not hard at all when no one has the bleeds. Especially on Grievous week. Like Grievous makes this even sketchier, but yeah, I was ready to go, had it farmed up, but yeah, doesn't really matter. So next up we've got some bears. So this is like one of the pulls where sub is just clearly better than outlaw. So the first pull I would argue outlaw is better than sub because you can do prio on the very healthy dragon. Unless you have another DPS with you that can do very, very good prio, you really need some prio on that first pull. But this pull and the second trash pull right after first boss, where all the mobs are pretty even, I would say sub is probably a lot better. Like it's gonna do a lot more DPS because of the size of the pulls and just the way the build works. You don't really need the prio, so outlaw definitely loses value here. But it's really only those 2 pulls I would say where sub is like definitively better than outlaw. And even so, like, you know, I'm doing 220k DPS on this pull. That's with pot and full cooldowns and everything, but you know, sub's probably going to do 50% more or something like that, which is definitely a lot. Don't get me wrong, but this is very much a passable amount of DPS, I would say, for this key level. Next up, we do some cows, and I hate these cows. I hate them so much. Luckily, we have our blood DK using slappy hands to kind of yoink them around, and that helps a little bit, but I just hate these cows so much. Having long arms helps, but it doesn't make the pull perfect. I would avoid these cows if possible, but it's fine. We have enough DPS with my other 2 DPS teammates to do this no problem. And actually at one point I guess we pull in a stag, so I just single target the stag for a little bit and then decide to go back to AoE. So next up we're going to do the skip. We distract the pat, and then we've got the shroud up, and we're going through the gate. The observant viewer will notice that we actually don't have enough count. We are a little bit short. So we're gonna have to come back down at some point, and we don't really realize this until later on, and we end up coming down after both bosses are finished. But yeah, we definitely messed up our route a little bit. I think we needed one more mob in the hall, one of the mobs that patrols over near the fenryr side of the hall. We end up doing a little bit of beer tech here, not the full beer tech. We just do 2 mobs at a time, and I think the key here is, I'll skip ahead a little bit, but the key here is you always want to be prioing the low mob if you're not doing all 4 at the same time. Main reason is that, you know, killing one of these kings is what makes it so you can start fighting the next king. So you always just want to kill the low mob until you're at the last 2 kings, right? Once you're at the last king, then you want to fight the highest mob. There's actually a lot of really good outlaw tech on this boss. I mean, a lot of it both specs can do, so it really comes down to Vanish, honestly. It's all about Vanish. So, like, you get targeted by the rush, you Vanish mid-animation, and you can avoid the damage entirely. It's, like, really, really good. So, like, in this case, I had Vanish, so I could dodge it there. I think I get targeted again next, and I get to use Cloak. I actually don't know if you can pre-immune this, so I didn't do it. But yeah, I know that if you get hit by it, you can Cloak and get rid of the debuff. I should actually figure out if you can pre-cloak that. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments. I definitely need to learn if you can do that. That situation kind of sucked. I didn't quite get Vanish back in time. And then I actually make a big mistake here, and I Vanish again, and I die for it. Again, this is why we take cheat death, but it is definitely unfortunate. I think if I potted, so I health potted there, but I did it after cheat had procced. I think if I was faster at health potting, I probably could have, you know, lived that and kept cheat, but a little bit unfortunate. You really don't want to get hit by 2 of those in a row, as really as anyone. It happens a little later on to our shaman, and he ends up dying for it. So luckily we have a lot of tools to avoid that stuff, but a lot of other people don't. Yeah, so here's the situation where the rush is on our tank, and our shaman's inside the circle, but the circle isn't shown on this like little raised rune thing. So he doesn't even know that, well, video just got all fucked up. But he doesn't even know that he's in danger, and then he gets hit, and he health pots insta to top himself, which is pretty good, but then he gets neglected for a little too long, and then he gets targeted again and dies. So definitely unfortunate, and this is actually crazy. So in the commotion of him getting targeted, our tank forgets to pick up the shield, and then has to run over and get it, and we almost died to Ragnarok. It was so close. It was like, we were all really freaked out. And then our shaman, unfortunately, has to sit there and AFK, because he's not sure if he's going to end up, you know, in the shield or not. Also, yeah, if you want to make the Vanish tech a little more consistent, just be a little farther away. It gives you more time to react to the start of his animation. But yeah, this boss, it was pretty exciting. We were pretty pumped after finishing this one. Normally this guy's like the easy boss. The other Odyn is definitely way harder than this boss. So it felt weird to almost wipe to this guy. One more Vanish. It's so good. Like, sub can do 2 of those, right? And then, you know, if the fight goes on long enough, you can probably do a 3rd. But being able to Vanish pretty much all of them and then cloak the ones that you can't is, like, absolutely insane. So one thing we do here is we make sure that all of us stand on the outside of the ring, and that's just to bait the spears outside. The other thing you'll notice is that I'm sitting on my trinket and pot. I'm not using either of those, even though they're available. So I know there's basically like one more potion of the dungeon, and I really want it during the rune phase, so I'm just not using that stuff. And honestly, I could probably use my use my trinket there. That'd probably be fine. I'd probably get one more use out of it. I should actually figure out if the angel form gives you double damage. If it gives you a double damage buff, then it's definitely worth holding. Like, losing one use is fine. But if it's anything less than double, then losing the use is not worth. So one thing you'll see that I do there... Oh no, my team goes to the wrong roots. But, oh, it's a 50% increase. Okay, so holding Trinket is not worth. It is actually not good to hold Trinket. Today I learned. So one thing you'll see me do... so this is another case where... So we have 2 spears coming up. I feint, and I take way less damage than everyone else. On this one, I cloak, and I take no damage. Like, Rogue is insane in this dungeon. It just does so much. So on the rune phase, you'll see me do this here. We're about to get runes, and I literally just AFK in the middle. You know, getting a little bit more damage in. Actually, I should have used Between the Eyes there, but I go to the middle. Oh, I get stunned. Awkward. Yeah, so I go to the middle and AFK, and I position myself so that my weak aura can just tell me exactly where to go. I want to turn my brain off and just, like, go the right direction, but it's definitely... You know, you lose a couple seconds of uptime, but I actually think that is very much worth it. But yeah, boss is dead. Now we're just going to run up ahead. I'll just skip ahead a bunch. We're just going to Shroud. We pick the Mystic. It has the lowest HP. I try to sap one, but we just D&D right into the middle of all of them. Like a boss. But yeah, we're just going to dump on this mob. And then the key is going to be over. But yeah, this is a pretty fun run, and overall, I feel like this Count the Odds build is like really good. If you're gonna play Outlaw at all, this is the build to play. Again, take a look at the video description. I'll link to the talents there, but the build is very fun. And also, I'm pretty sure is the best thing to play in Tyrannical Halls of Valor. Unless you're just like in a god team and can make sub work. There's definitely a lot of really good teams out there that play sub everywhere, but I think for most people, this is probably the best spec to play in this dungeon. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think, if you've been trying this build, or if you've been playing something else in this dungeon or elsewhere, and I will catch you in the next one.